Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we have a mission, and honestly, it's a big one.
Right.
We're going to completely reframe something that, well, pretty much most of us have experienced at some point.
Yeah, we are. We're talking about anxiety today. And not in the usual way, right?
Right, exactly. Usually, when we talk about anxiety, we frame it as this biological pathology, like something that just has to be permanently medicated away.
Hmm.
Or we treat it as a fixed personality trait.
Like a life sentence almost.
Yeah, people say, I'm just an anxious person, like it's their height or their eye color. But the philosophical and psychological sources we're diving into today, they offer a totally fascinating lens that shatters that whole binary.
It really does. It's a profound shift. The core insight here is that anxiety is not the objective structure of the world, and it's not who you are.
Right.
Instead, it is persistently assembled state.
A persistently assembled state. I love that phrasing. And I want to jump right in with an analogy because when I was reading through the source material, I kept picturing this scenario. So imagine you wake up one morning and without even realizing it, you put on a pair of deeply tinted, completely scratched up sunglasses.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Right. So you walk out your front door and suddenly the whole world looks just dark and dangerous. The edges of the trees are all blurred, the sky is gloomy, it looks threatening. And because you've totally forgotten you're wearing these glasses, you don't think, oh, my vision is distorted.
You think the world is distorted.
Exactly. You literally conclude that the sun has died. You believe the universe itself has just permanently dimmed.
Yeah, and that's the kicker, right? Because if you genuinely believe the sun has died, your behavior has to change to match that reality. You stop going outside, you hoard supplies.
You live in total defensiveness.
Right, because the darkness feels undeniably, tangibly real to you in that moment. But objective reality, I mean, the actual sun shining above the clouds and hasn't changed one bit.
Not at all.
What has fundamentally altered is the apparatus through which you are viewing the world. So our mission today is to explore the mechanics of that apparatus and really figure out how to recognize that you are wearing those glasses in the first place.
Yeah, because until you realize you're wearing them, you can't exactly take them off. So to understand why these sunglasses are so incredibly hard to take off, we first need to look at how the source material explicitly defines this specific state.
And we should definitely normalize this first. Millions of people, I mean, so many people are walking around wearing these exact same scratched sunglasses.
Absolutely. It's so common.
But the material clarifies that this is not an identity. The exact definition they use is a background state of unsafety.
A background state of unsafety.
Yes. And in this state, a sense of threat is experienced as constantly present. So your basic default modes of response just become entirely about control and protection.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
If I'm listening to this right now, maybe I'm driving to work or folding laundry, and I struggle with chronic anxiety, and I hear you say it's just a state, right? Not the objective truth about the world. I might get a little frustrated.
Oh, totally. It sounds almost dismissive if you don't understand the mechanics.
Right. I'd be like, if it's just a state, why does an anxious person have such a profoundly hard time believing the world could genuinely feel different? Because, I mean, when you are in the middle of it, that threat feels as real as gravity.
It feels as real as gravity because your brain is actively processing it with the exact same level of urgency as a physical law. And this is where we have to talk about how anxiety doesn't just change your mood. It's not just feeling sad or happy.
Right.
It fundamentally alters the felt structure of reality itself.
The felt structure of reality, that is a huge concept.
It is, because it changes your relationship to the world, your relationship to your own body, to time, and to the future.
Wow, okay. Let's break those down.
Boy.
What does the text say about how it changes our relationship to our bodies?
Well, it highlights specific mechanisms. The big ones are threat, contraction, urgency, anticipation, and an overwhelming need for control. So let's take contraction.
Okay.
When threat feels built into your reality, your body physically braces for impact. Your shoulders creep up to your ears.
Your breathing gets all shallow.
Exactly. You are physically taking up less space because your nervous system is literally preparing to take a hit.
Right, and then there's time. This was one of the most fascinating parts of the text for me. Time completely warps.
Oh, absolutely. Time stops being this open-flowing river and turns into a ticking countdown clock.
Yeah, it's like you aren't just looking forward to the future anymore. You are anticipating the future as a guaranteed site of danger. Every single possible scenario is just a threat waiting to happen.
Which brings us to urgency. When anticipation and contraction merge together, everything feels like a life or death emergency.
Like getting a slightly vague email from your boss.
Yes, or dropping your keys. Your physiological response is literally identical to a person being stalked by a predator. And this leads to what the text calls the key turn.
The key turn. Okay, wait. Before you explain the key turn, I have to bring up another analogy that really cemented this for me.
Let's hear it.
It's like a malfunctioning home security system.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Imagine sitting in your living room, and suddenly the alarms are blaring, the doors automatically lock, the red strobe lights are flashing everywhere. That's the urgency, the contraction, the anticipation you were just talking about.
Right, the sensory overload.
Exactly. So if all of that is happening, you naturally assume there is a burglar outside. The physiological urgency you feel, the pounding heart, the sweat, that is all very, very real. But the external threat is not.
And that is exactly the key turn. The crucial realization that when threat feels built into reality, when the alarms are deafening, what is actually changing is your relationship to the world, not the world itself.
Your relationship to the world, not the world.
Right. Mistaking the broken alarm for an actual burglar is what locks us into those default modes of control and protection. We desperately try to control every single variable outside of us.
Like checking the locks 50 times.
Exactly. Or throwing up massive emotional walls. But the tragedy is, because the threat isn't actually out there, no amount of external control will ever shut the internal alarm off.
Man, that is so powerful. You can't fix a broken alarm panel by yelling at the front yard.
Exactly.
So this naturally brings us to the next big question. If anxiety is like this malfunctioning alarm system, how does that system get stuck in the on position permanently? Because a panic attack is one thing, but a permanent background state is another.
Right. And to answer that, we have to look at how the mind constructs reality over time. The sources introduced this concept called a second-level imprint.
Okay, second level imprint.
Yeah, and they organically mentioned something called the post-ego frame, which is basically where all these maps of human states and mechanisms are collected.
Right, the cartography of the mind.
Exactly. So a primary level experience is direct sensory input. You touch a hot stove, you feel pain, you pull your hand back.
But the alarm goes off because there's actual smoke.
Yes. But a second-level imprint is different. In its stable, persistent form, anxiety is a structure that has been built and assembled over time in the background. If you go through chronic stress, your brain basically writes a new blueprint.
It says, okay, the world is just chaotic and dangerous. I need to be ready at all times.
Exactly. And over time, that script calcifies into this imprint. It overlays this blueprint of unsafety onto everything you perceive.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to push back on that term.
Okay, what's the pushback?
If we call it an imprint, doesn't that imply it's permanent? I mean, like stamping ink on a piece of paper or a fossil in a rock. If I'm listening to this, how do I avoid feeling doomed by that label, like my brain is just permanently broken?
I completely understand that reaction. It sounds heavy.
Hmm.
But the text actually flips that entirely on its head.
Really? How so?
Classifying anxiety as an imprint is actually the exact thing that gives us the blueprint to dismantle it.
Wait, how does that work?
Because stable anxiety is an imprint, and because it is a persistently assembled state, it means it is not final reality.
Huh.
It's a construction. And because it's a construction, it can be actively noticed and distinguished from the actual world.
So if it was built, it can be unbuilt, or at least recognized.
Exactly. Once you notice it, once you say, oh, this is the imprint acting up, not a literal threat, it can be stopped from being taken as the absolute truth. You can gradually work through it.
So what does this all mean for the listener, practically speaking? Because to me, this realization feels a lot like becoming lucid in a nightmare.
Oh, that's a fantastic analogy.
Yeah, think about it. You're in a nightmare and the terror is absolute. You are running from a monster. Your real physical heart rate is spiking in your bed. The reality of the dream is unquestionable.
Right, your body believes it completely.
But then you have that miraculous moment of lucidity. You suddenly realize, wait, I'm asleep, I'm in a dream.
And what happens to the nightmare?
The monsters lose their teeth.
Right.
Like, you might still be standing in the spooky dream forest, the scenery is still dark, but because you know it's an assembled state, you know it isn't objective reality anymore.
Exactly. You recognize the state. Now, we have to be firm here because this isn't some pop psychology magic cure.
Right, it's not toxic positivity.
No, not at all. Realizing you are in a nightmare doesn't automatically teleport you to a sunny beach. The friction of unlearning these deep neural pathways takes immense patience. But because it is a state rather than the world itself, it can be recognized and it can be overcome.
You stop fighting a war against the outside world and you start fixing the wiring of the alarm.
Precisely.
So, as we bring this deep dive to a close, let's return to our core anchor for everyone listening. Anxiety is not your identity,
No, it's not.
and it is not the world. It is a state. It is the broken alarm system, not the burglar. It's the tinted sunglasses, not a dying sun. And the most hopeful takeaway from all of this is that the world can genuinely become different when that state changes.
It's an incredibly liberating realization.
It really is. Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final, somewhat provocative thought to mull over.
Oh, I like this one.
Yeah, it really builds on everything we just discussed.
Right.
So, we talked a lot today about how anxiety alters our relationship with time and the future, right?
Right, through anticipation and urgency, constantly scanning the horizon.
Exactly. But if this second level imprint is constantly looking for threats to justify its own existence, how might it be secretly rewriting your perception of the past?
Wow. Yeah, we usually only think of anxiety looking forward.
Right. But does a background state of unsafety cause your brain to selectively edit your memories? Like highlighting only past dangers or past failures just to justify your current state of control?
Like a biased documentary filmmaker just cropping out all the good stuff.
Yes. Does it intentionally crop out the moments of genuine safety and connection you've had just to keep the alarm bells ringing? It is a deeply fascinating question to ask yourself the next time you catch your mind rewriting history through an anxious lens.
That's something to really sit with. Are you remembering the whole truth or just what the scratchy sunglasses want you to see?
Exactly. Something to explore on your own. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey today.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.